Welcome to another episode of Paradox TV, coming right to ya. My name is Alan, the founder and host of this short episode of Paradox TV. So what have we learned? What are we going to learn? That's the question. Is the UK going to stay in Europe? That is the question. So I said, and a man of my word, I would give you a prediction. If the UK stays within Europe, what will be the result or the impact over a 20-year period? The UK comes out of Europe, what will be the impact prediction in a 20-year period? This is my information, this is my fact, so my opinion, which I am completely entitled to. So you can either agree with this opinion, disagree, that's your choice. And that's the great thing about it. Ask the question, why? So today we're going to be looking at if Britain or United Kingdom stays within Europe, what's it going to look like? Before I begin on this, just want to give you a brief summary. So where we are at this point in time, we are £1.3 trillion in debt. That puts a £25,000 debt on your head. Every man, woman and child in this country, on average, £25,000. We pay £55 billion per year in interest payments alone. Not only that, we have a budget of 800 billion. We have an income stream of 500 billion, which means we're borrowing 300 billion every single year. So our national debt is only going to rise, especially in this so-called recovery good economy. We have an NHS, the crown jewel of the United Kingdom, which is currently £2 billion over budget. £960 million of that money is in mismanagement. Unbelievable. So what I want to talk to you about is first of all, how to cook a frog. And this isn't a food tube channel, but how to cook a frog. The way you cook a frog is you take some really cold water and you put it on a stove and you put the frog in there and you heat it up really on a very kind of low scale. And what happens is the frog's in there, he's like, oh wow, having a bath. But then it gets hotter and hotter, and before it knows where it is, the frog is cooked. Unless you understand this, unless you're kind of getting where we are at this point in time, we are ready to be cooked. We have a choice. On the 23rd of June, we have a choice to make. And what my opinion is, all I want you to do is take the information I'm giving you, go and research it, go and look at it, and make your own judgment call, make your own decision. So today what we're going to be looking at is if the United Kingdom stays within Europe, as a projection, my own projection, based on fact, the only way we can judge future behaviour is on past behaviour. So if nothing else changes and things remain the same, what will the UK look like in 20 years' time? So, as we've already said, we have a population of roughly, or we had a population, at turn of the century of roughly 58 million people. 58 million. Within a 16-year period, the population has risen by 11% to somewhere in the region of 65 to 66 million people. You might say, well, people are living longer. Yeah, they are, as a percentage, and women are having more children. No, they're not. For every woman out there, they're having 1.87%. So for every woman, they're having 1.87 children. Which means, I don't know where the other 13% goes, but the 13 bits go, but ultimately that says actually they're not. So what's interesting is we're having a population boom with less people in the country having more babies. And read into that what you will. Go and look at the facts. So where are we? So if we were to look at that alone, we would judge that the population in 20 years' time, if nothing changed, everything remained the same, would be roughly 80 million people, if we're being kind about it. So within the United Kingdom, there would be 80 million people living there. If we looked at our national debt, which is currently £1.3 trillion, and we're paying £55 billion on that in interest alone, we would imagine that our national debt, if we'd have to borrow the same, so the £300 billion that we're borrowing year on year will continue over a 20-year period, which would take it to an extra 6 trillion. 6 trillion, which would take our national debt, if we had been kind about it, roughly, somewhere in the region of 7.25 trillion more, 7.43 trillion, who knows? Which means if the interest rates remained the same and nothing else changed, that we'd be paying somewhere in the region of £300 billion in interest. Interest alone. It's unsustainable. It doesn't work. What will happen for you as a UK citizen? I can tell you what will happen to you. You will be there'll be more surveillance on you than ever before. They'll know what you're doing, who you're seeing, where you're going, what you spend your money on, which they know, but it will be to a much more extreme level. They will know everything about you. You won't be able to do a single thing. They will tell you what you're allowed to think and what you're not allowed to think. They will give you a one world religion which you can choose to believe or not believe, and that is down to you. There will be a one world currency which you will have to use, and it will be digital. It won't be pounds and paper. It will be digital. So here's the point. If that's the future that you're looking for, if that's a future you want, where we lose the identity of the United Kingdom, we lose the identity of a people, if that's what you're looking for, then vote to stay within Europe. There are no benefits for it, for us to remain in Europe whatsoever. The point being, would trade remain the same? Of course it'd remain the same. Would we be at the back of the queue when America are talking about trade deals? No. No, we wouldn't, but let's talk about America really quickly. Here's a country which is trillions upon trillions of pounds in dollars in debt. Trillions, they're completely insolvent. So are America the industrial power of the world? No, they've given away everything through globalization, which is the same of us. If we go back before we entered Europe, 1973, you would understand the UK was famous for its production. We had car manufacturing, we had every kind of production you can think of. Made in England was thought of across the world as being high quality stuff. But then we entered into something, not by choice of ourselves, but we entered into something that has step by step pulled us down and down and down and down until we come to a place where we owe more than we can pay back. More than we can pay back. We come to a place where you can't talk about what the important things are anymore. Something needs to change. And we can either boil in the pot or we can do something about it. 23rd of June, people. If you haven't voted, whatever you decide to do, that's down to you. As you can tell, I'm voting to get out because I believe in something more. But that's down to you. So, signing off. The truth matters. Have a great evening.